Yeah, we'll get
Hello, Pod Smashers of the Internet, and welcome to another 80-Bit Review live stream. We are usually a weekly video game podcast smashing together ideas that you care about, and we are where gaming goes to grab a beer.
Yes, we're also your hosts, Penguin and Termite, in case you are listening to this as your very first 80-Bit Pod Smash. Bob from the Flock. Speaking of video game podcasts and live streams and all kinds of activity, we are joined tonight, not in any voice kind of capacity, but in our chat right now, Bob from the Flock is joining us, and they have a weekly video game podcast as well called The Flock. So you should check out The Flock podcast as well. So there you go. There's a plug for you, my man.
Yeah, we've guested on each other's shows, so it's great to see like some Virginia gaming circles come around. Come
Solidarity,
full circle, pun intended. Yeah. So
what
are we doing?
Do you want to switch to my real quick? Do you want to switch to my stream so we can? Well, I'll explain what we're doing. You switch to mine so that we can see if we've actually succeeded in what we're trying to do.
Looks good. Got it.
Wait, I don't see it on the. Oh, I guess. Yeah. Okay, there he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look how responsive that is. Oh, it's beautiful. All right. Yeah. So we're streaming 2 games tonight. We're streaming Horizon Forbidden West and we're streaming Wonderlands. Part of the reason we're doing 2 is because both games are good games, but we don't have nearly as much to say about either of them as we did Elden Ring. So as opposed to with Elden Ring, we could fill up a 2-hour time slot, no problem, with discussion and conversation. This game's going to be a little bit, or these games should be a little bit more tight, should be a little bit more condensed. And so we're each going to get some review time. The other thing that these games have that Elden Ring didn't have is these games have understandable stories in the first playthrough. So we'll be able to talk about the story plot as well for each. But I don't want to cut too much more into your time. So why don't I start? I'll start. That's the way this is going to work. He's going to play while I talk, and then we're going to switch. That's why we have the 2 views. And then I'm going to play while he talks. Yeah,
yep.
That's how it goes.
One last bit of housekeeping is about the spoiler-ish. There is implied spoilers by the fact that we have finished the game, so our gameplay in and of itself, viewing it, could be spoilers for those who are very sensitive. We're not going to talk about any story spoilers until we declare it. Then we're going to leave a 20-minute segment at the end of Horizon here, and then another 20-minute segment at the end of Wonderlands to talk about spoilers, and we are going to delineate that very clearly for audio listeners to skip ahead 20 minutes. However, if you're watching it, you might be exposed to something you didn't mean to see. Because
in which case, you can go hop over to another stream or just come back in 20 minutes. We'll be done talking about the next game. So that's how I think this is going to work. Yep. And I think it's going to work. So I guess I start with my review. I am drinking, by the way, a Not Your Father's root beer. No association with anything other than it. I haven't had one in a while, and they were in the grab and go section of Food Lion. So
sweet.
All right, play this
great
game.
I am playing this wonderful game. 15
minutes to do my thing, so I'm going to put a little timer on for myself. Oh no, where's my phone? Okay, there we go. All right, so Horizon Forbidden West. It is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, right? And I'm just gonna give myself. Oh, is that too much
flashlight?
That's too much light.
Too much.
All right, I was gonna try to light my face up a little bit more, but I think I'm okay. I think my face is lit up okay. As much as one can be in a family room. All right, Horizon Forbidden West, the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. Okay, so not talking about story spoilers, just talking about the various elements of the game, things I liked and things I didn't like. So to start with, I'll start with the things, just kind of go through each element in turn. So the first thing, obviously, that jumps out to me in almost any game is gameplay. So just kind of watching what you're doing there. I mean, like anything I'd expect from first-party Sony at this point, just tight controls, feels good, looks good, everything's smooth, 60 frames per second. So when the game first came out, it had a lot more occasional graphical hitches with the frame rate. Like, I remember the first couple days, it was pretty bad. Didn't you say that you had an entire cinematic that was it was stuttering? Yeah.
It locked it, from rest mode to this cinematic type stuff. It locked itself into a horrible frame stuttering, maybe 10 frames per second. It was awful. Yeah.
So I'd hope that 3 months later, it's been fixed. Yeah. So it'll actually be interesting to see if it just feels better to play now. But nevertheless, it was still like super high quality experience. This game suffered from coming out a week before Elden Ring, and so that's, or 2 weeks before Elden Ring, and that's all I could think about was how much I wanted to blast through the game in order to play Elden Ring. So this game and Horizon Zero Dawn are kind of on my, long term, I want to replay them both in order and just take my time with both of them and enjoy them if and when I have time to do that. So hopefully this doesn't impact my review too much in just trying to recall things, because it really was just like a whirlwind. So, gameplay. I guess one of my biggest complaints is that it didn't really evolve anything. Like, the vast majority of the weaponry was like cut and paste from the first game. Like, literally the first few weapons you get are basically just weapons from Horizon Zero Dawn. You get some cool new like environmental stuff, but like none of it could be used in combat. And I was really hoping when they first gave you the hook shot, basically, for all intents and purposes, you can use it in combat, but you can't use it for anything. I was hoping you could like pull pieces off, like, use it to target and pull pieces off the dinosaurs. And the fact that you couldn't really disappointed me. So you don't really interact. You don't really get anything new weapon wise. Probably some of it's based on luck too, like which direction you go and what quest rewards you get. But like, I don't think I saw my first new weapon, like mechanically different weapon, until you got the like arm sling thing that throws the discs and that you can kind of boomerang back. That was like the very first one that I got that wasn't just something from the first game, which was a little bit like, okay, guys, this game took like 4 or 5 years to make. Like, why is everything identical? Like, what did you guys do with all that time? I get it. It's a beautiful looking game, and they definitely upped the visuals. So I'll jump into that next for a little bit. The visuals were, I'll kind of come back to gameplay, but I'll kind of hit the major ones. The visuals were great. Like, once they fixed the issues, like one of the things I remember about Horizon Zero Dawn is that you spend so much time looking at people's faces and the teeth. There was a very uncanny valley effect going on with the teeth. They just were wrong. They were rendered wrong. And I did not have any teeth uncanny valley. There's still a little tiny bit uncanny valley. They haven't quite eliminated it from the game. But it's no longer the source of that uncanny valley is not the teeth. Let's see. So visually it's great. I do feel like for the most part the biomes were the same, and I was hoping to see a little bit of difference with the biome. I mean, even just looking at your screen right now, it's like, yep, deserts and tall necks. Like, if it didn't look a little bit better, have that a little bit extra of that PS5 sheen, you could have fooled me if you're playing Horizon Zero Dawn. So I was, but by the time you get to the end of the game, they have a lot more like of that jungle and the coastline and the city, the sunken part of San Francisco. That was kind of cool. So they did eventually get me, appeased with the biome action. Let's see. Music, sound wise, beautiful as always. I can't complain. This is probably one of the things Guerrilla Games does best with this game is the music is astounding. Sound design too. All the machines that you fight have great sound effects. Voice acting and everything is fantastic. Performances, of course, well done. There wasn't a single performance that I thought was bad. Right, I wasn't sitting there being like, that was bad. Some of the writing was meh, but like everyone's sold, the actors and the performers, they all sold everything perfect. So there was no intention lost in any of the character development or anything like that. So yeah, you see, we talked about sound.
Since you have played, there have been numerous visual improvement patches. And it's been a long time since you played. So a lot of like the way the eyes track during dialogue scenes apparently has been fixed and improved. A lot of the ambient occlusion, shimmering around the edges has been improved. Anti-aliasing stuff. So lots of minor changes that I guess you wouldn't know unless you watch Digital Foundry videos that are like in-depth, zooming in, counting pixel type level of detail. But just in general, like the uncanny valley has been reduced by patches. It's been improved a lot.
Okay, yeah, I'm looooking forward to seeing it. This is actually the first time I've fired it up since Elden Ring came out. So, and in fact, I had to reinstall it, so it'll be interesting. I mean, I can tell just looking at I'm looking at the the loading screen. And it looks really good, and I don't remember it looking that good before. Now, maybe it did, but still. Okay, so while I was sort of in the realm of storytelling with the performances, the acting, and how the writing was only okay, without giving away anything spoiler wise, I'll just sort of talk about how the story is told. The story is told much like it is in the first game, where it's mostly a cinematic experience. It's mostly a sort of action-driven story. The really important story stuff happens in cutscenes, and that's fine. That's what I'm used to. That's cool. But I didn't actually experience this so much, but I experienced it because I experienced it, right? Meaning, I skipped a lot of the dialogue, like a lot of the extra dialogue that you can have, right? Where you're like, okay, now you can talk to this person about all these things. And I was reading that someone was complaining. They're like, yeah, the biggest problem with Horizon Forbidden West storytelling is that it still relies on like dialogue wheels. And I understand why that's a problem, is because it's not interesting to sit there and watch people talk at each other and just do nothing but sit there and talk at each other. So it's like, Borderlands has its own pacing issues with the story, but one of the things I like about Borderlands is they give a lot of exposition through the earpiece. They're talking to them while you're doing other action. And I feel like Horizon Forbidden West is either going to need to lean into that or lean into more environmental storytelling, where it's like, it's okay if people don't get the full context. It's clearly okay if people don't get the full context, because everybody's going to listen to the optional dialogue or not, depending on their tastes. So if you can still tell the story and have people ignore all the dialogue, you could do the same thing with just environmental storytelling, right? So that way, again, the reason is because something about the human psyche, if I sit there and choose to read something in the game, pause the action in the game to read it, I'm more okay with that than if I'm just sitting there watching people talk at each other. It's like, come on, guys. So, circling really quickly back around to gameplay, I want to talk about combat. Despite the fact that it doesn't really bring anything new to the table for the most part, the combat's still fun. It's still fun. I still enjoy the sort of strategic, you're only, kind of like with Souls games or God of War, you're only fighting a few at a time, but so the action is slow enough that you can handle and deal with everything that's coming at you, but it's only a few things, so it's not like hordes and hordes of enemies where your ability to react with the exact right spell or whatever is a reaction based thing. No, it's just like a few enemies at a time. You pull out what you need, you scan them, you know what their weaknesses are, then you go and you slowly remove components, and it works. It's a formula that works. It works really well. It has that nice blend of action, reaction time, and strategy that has made Souls-like action games successful for the past years. While it's not a Souls-like, it's got difficulty sliders, and it's got it's more of a ranged combat game, third person over the shoulder. If eventually you might stop talking to people and kill something, and people can see, and then but there's lots of tracking things down. I like how they added it so that way if you need to get components to upgrade your stuff, you can make it a trackable objective. That was a nice quality of life improvement to the game. I like the glider. The new mount options are great, are really fun. So they didn't, in the first game you could mount the horse, and that was about it. Now you can mount a giant boar machine, or you can mount
a raptor,
or you can mount something. I guess they'll probably see it in my game. I don't think I'll be able to stop myself from summoning it. So, spoiler alert, you can mount a flying thing, and you can fly, which trivializes basically the back half of the game. That's fine. It's, we're not, this is Horizon Forbidden West. You can kind of customize your experience to be as hard or difficult or easy as you want. So, play the game how you want to play it. It's fine. And sometimes you want, like you said, comfort food to just, throw yourself into the game and not have to, struggle with it. That said, there were some times when I think I did in frustration drop the difficulty, but that was more because I was trying to get through it fast in order to get the story done before Elden Ring came out, which I guess that was my problem. So there's a lot in the game side quest wise, and normally I would have taken that and immersed myself into all the side quests before just mainlining the story. So that was a difference for me. Like normally I would have played, more like an open world game, but this time I was like, I guess I'm not used to mainlining the story. So that frustrated me that I imposed that upon myself. But even so, like the trophy guides are like, you need to mainline the story first because then you can fly and then it makes the rest of the trophy easy. And it's like, I don't know. That was an experience that I'm glad I did it, but I'm also glad that I learned that like under normal circumstances, I would have just done it at my own pace and been happy with that. So, it was kind of a self-learning experience, but, we're coming up near the end of my section. So I know we got started a little bit late, but, I think I'll just give that time back to you.
Sweet.
Yeah. I mean, I would say this game to me is not, it may be a game of the year contender as far as politics go, like, but this game, for reasons that I'll also get to with the storytelling, because that's the piece I have to leave out right now, which is because you don't want to spoil everything, but there's also some storytelling reasons why I feel like though there were some cool twists that made me go, what? At the end of the day, I feel like they're in danger of getting into a pattern, and I'll hit more on that in the story part of it. But yeah, I just don't think I don't think it's game of the year. I think that they didn't take enough risk. I don't think they innovated enough. Yeah, I think that they need to do something to freshen up to freshen it up. It was such a unique and awesome idea that when the first game came out, it was bound to be successful, because it was a unique and fresh idea. But that's the problem with franchises like this is you need to do something to freshen it up in the next one, or else it's just going to feel like the same game, right? So, yeah, I don't know what that next step is. I don't know what the next big thing for them is to make this game fresh, but I feel like it's going to need it. I don't know if that's like a new kind of weapon, right? Instead of like you don't get the bow until the back half of the game, and then you have to fight with other weapons. I don't know. They gotta do something though, because like it's just getting a little stale. And that's what I was worried about with this game when it was first announced. Is like I don't want. Yeah, they just need to. If not the bow, like the bow is kind of core to her, but like they need to make it so that you don't get the same 5 weapons as your first 5 weapons, right? Like I don't want to see a slingshot. I don't want to see a freaking, one of the rapid caster or whatever. I want to see new weapons, and I want them to be thrown at me first. And then I get the ones that I'm familiar and happy with later. But yeah. So anyways, I guess that's my thoughts. And wrapping up, it was fun. It's still a fun game. It's still a Sony staple. It's just not going to be like game of the year for me. And I do want to revisit it. I do. It's a fun, and gosh, I'll just listen to the theme song over and over again. It's no problem.
It's so good. If you had to give it a score or like a rating out of 5 out of 10, however you want to do it, what would you put it? Where would it be?
Probably somewhere in the 4 out of 5 or like 85, between 85 and 90. It's a game that does unfortunately suffer, just like the first one. It suffers from the context in which it came out. I bet you I would have rated this game higher had I waited. Just like the first one, had I waited a year to play it, right? I played Horizon Zero Dawn, it came out in like a March release date, and I played it in like a December. So yeah, I benefited from not having anything else around and just being able to fully enjoy it for what it was. But maybe not. Maybe I sort of felt the same general critiques that I had of it, the first time around. So it probably would have been somewhere in the middle, but nevertheless, like it just wasn't it was fine. It was good. I just am not like sitting here being like, oh gosh, I can't wait to play this game again. It's more like, I reinstalled it today for this stream. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, you got the platinum trophy, you finished everything
I'm
story wise, but
yeah,
it makes sense that you would want to be able to put this away and be done with it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool. All right. Well, yep.
Are you ready to play?
I am. I had just hit the thing to.
There we go. We switched over. My room gets so much darker. Is yours. Look at that. I will remove my disc and switch over to Wonderlands, and I'm going to pull up my phone.
But we got the story. Oh, that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you want me to play again.
No, it's fine. It'll be all right.
Yeah. Somebody's going to be playing.
Is it responsive? Is it laggy? I have to learn how to play this game again. I was fighting this thing. This is the last thing I was doing over and over again was... Oh,
you were grinding for experience?
I was grinding this giant thing, so I'll fight it. I'll fight this thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That'll be good, because I didn't really do any combat in my playthrough at all. So let me grab my phone, because I did have some notes when I first started playing this game. Let me pull those up.
What did I do? What was I doing with this thing? Purge water.
I don't have any sound from your game. Why? That doesn't make any sense.
No, it does. Hold on.
Okay. It does make sense. I'm glad it makes sense to one of us.
I think I need to change my audio source.
Where is
my audio source.
All right, here we go. I will begin my review while you debug.
Well, I mean, it's playing through the thing, so I don't know what. Here, let's try just like selecting the thing directly. Do you have audio coming out of the thing?
I hear your Discord, but I don't hear any audio.
No, I mean
from the game.
The game.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine.
Excuse the stream; it's been flickering because I was modifying a setting to see if I could figure this out on my end, but it looks like I have what I need to do that. So I don't know why there's no sound. That doesn't make any sense. Huh. Well, I guess
is it coming out of the...
I hear zero sound from anything on your game, just Discord.
Okay, well. Oh well. I mean, what like we could grind this thing to a halt, or we could just not have sound coming out of mine. As long as you can see it, it's fine.
I'm trying one thing just to verify.
Oh.
I loaded up your stream in a browser itself instead of Streamlabs to see if I could get sound from anywhere, and I do not. So it's not. I don't think it's on my end. I apologize.
Okay, I'll see if I can figure it out here in a second. But
cool, you fight this thing. I'm going to talk about this game. So Horizon Forbidden West, Guerrilla Games, PlayStation 5. We talked about that. My first thoughts initially are the first thoughts of almost everyone who plays a brand new game because you see it for the first time. Graphics. Wow, absolutely gorgeous. There was some minor jank in clipping when climbing and some weirdness with the hair and the clothes as things happen and cameras cut between scenes. But pretty much like a very lush, very colorful, alive, and filled out world. During my stream while Penguin was talking during his review, I walked into a bar area that's at the beginning of the game and just kind of walked around to kind of show the animations of all the sub characters that you can't even talk to. They're not even, I wouldn't even consider them NPCs. They're just people. They're like extras that you would have in a film, all fleshed out in immaculate detail, full like dress, everything. It's just like attention to detail is immaculate, and I love it. So that stood out. Character models and facial expressions. I put it sits somewhere between Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us Part 2, where it's better than Ghost of Tsushima, but not quite as good as Last of Us Part 2. Now, those direct comparisons are prior to the patch that happened. And since the patch did happen, I stopped noticing the facial expressions, the way people's eyes were flickering around or like what they were looking at, or it matched. And it was a drastic improvement over Horizon Zero Dawn, the first game. People convey emotions much, much better in this game. So a testament to the animation team. So again, the voice acting is spot on and incredible. I love the fact that I have immersed myself in nerd culture enough to know Carrie Ann Moss's voice the second I heard it. And I was like, what? Yeah. And then I had to IMDb it to verify it. And sure enough, she is in this game. Spoilers for who she is, but she is in this game, and it was awesome. So that's pretty cool. Combat is much improved over the first one. The UI is responsive and more optimized. However, there's a termite issue here. I like things very streamlined and very obvious. Hold that wheel up for just a second. Leave that there. If you look on that wheel alone, I see 369, 246, 15 different types of weapons. And in that wheel, you see acid, fire, frost, electricity, bombs, arrows, tripcaster. No, you don't even have a tripcaster. A spear you can throw, different types of bows do different types of things, and it's all like right there, which is, yes, convenient because it's in one wheel, but also I never had a clue how to get to what I wanted in the moment. A specific enemy would require a specific trap or a weakness that you need, and I would fumble around the UI and end up missing. I would almost exhaust every permutation of choices I had to land on the thing I actually needed, and by then the moment of opportunity is gone. So I just thought that was overwhelming. There was too much. When you scan an enemy, it does give you all of its weak points and everything. Oh, hey, there you go. Maybe that's it. Hey, I got sound. Yay, that's it. That was it. That was the setting.
That was it. Yep. I just can't.
Yeah.
Mute the TV now. I forgot about that. I tried to do that last time, and
yeah. So now we'll have sound on Penguin's game. So I apologize for the blank sound on Penguin's game there, but so having to switch between like arrow and ice caster while remembering to craft arrows on the fly because combat you exhaust ammo and like to just no simple way to okay, I lost your sound again. What happened?
Also, wait.
Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm turning it up.
You still have it?
Yep, we're good. It was just a lot. So if you certain enemies have certain weak spots, just specific components. Scan that enemy over there and like cycle through so people can see what I'm talking about because it's a lot. It mostly takes multiple tries to get to exactly what you want. So there's a small wheel in the very middle of the screen. He's cycling through with his D-pad to select each individual component. And you'll see like how each component has a different weakness almost. So keep going, like one more. Like scroll, like there's like detachable, explosive, and then there's like this weak versus those two things, strong versus those two things. There's key upgrade resources on the thing. Then you can press the touchpad and go into the notebook and like look at even more. There's a lot. Like it's very, very nested. And I get the UI solution that's in place here is probably the best you're going to get to convey that much information to the player. It's just a lot. And coming off of or not having come off of Horizon Zero Dawn, however many years it took for this to come out, it was very jarring. And I understand why they gave you familiar weapons at the beginning of the game, because if they were to throw all the new stuff at you in addition to this, it would have been completely overwhelming. So that is that. Like, combat is good, mechanically sound. You can slow down time. There's skill trees. You can develop Aloy in your own way. If you want to be a stealthy person, you can do that. If you want to focus on traps, you can do that. If you want to focus on melee, if you want to focus on being really strong against machines in general, you can have those different, you can spread out your points how you want to kind of build Aloy to be your play style. So that's kind of nice. The world is a blast to explore. I felt immediately comfortable in this open world game chasing after the question marks on the minimap. I know a lot of people hate that from like The Witcher, but I absolutely love it. It's just like Ghost of Tsushima level of comfort food. To me, this game was what I have been wanting to get to. Elden Ring distracted me from this game. Wonderlands distracted me from this game, and I finally circled back around it to a game that I didn't have to super think about a lot, despite what I just said about the combat, because I turned the difficulty down to story, and so I didn't have to focus on those weak points so much. I could just kind of wing it and go for it and have a good time. I did get the Platinum Trophy as well, so what I love about this game that stood out over others is the very first town you run into was a good example of this, because every big major hub center of cities do this with the storytelling. And so we'll go into that storytelling. There's side quests are very much more fleshed out than they were in the first game. So there's like this in the very first towns. It's not super spoilery because everyone's going to get there. There is a person who's causing trouble for a lot of people, and a lot of the main quest touches on it. Then a whole bunch of side quests are all different aspects of how this person has affected their life. And Aloy is fixing different aspects of it to the point where the ultimate goal was to drive this man out of town because he was so problematic. And you get the political leadership involved. So that's great. I love how Aloy knows where the machines come from. She has knowledge from the first game. She has a focus that she can see like all of the augmented reality of all the data that's going on. She understands Gaia and its subroutines and what what Zero Dawn was. And she has all of the
spoiling things.
No, I'm not. Like, Gaia was from the first game. Like, that's yeah.
Okay.
So in this game, like, she knows all of the stuff. Like, she's carrying that from the first game into this one. Yeah. So at the very beginning of the game, you always have been in both games interacting with folks who are what look like primitive human beings with very little technology because they started over, play the first game to figure out how that happened. But what's great is they have a preconceived notion of what the machines are, whether the machines are helpful to their society or they're enemies to their society, but they're vastly overpowered, big, giant entities, and they have mythology almost around them. So the game does a great job, the storytelling, to convey a tribe, a specific group of people, and the mythology that they've applied to the machines. And each tribe is different, unique in their own way. It's awesome. I think it's very, very cool to kind of unveil the layers of story that's happening from the perspective of this tribe. What I think is awesome about Aloy as a character, she doesn't just come in with truth bomb hammer and say, you were all wrong, these machines were blank, go play the first game to figure out where the machines came from. The truth of exactly, she doesn't come in with the truth and just completely rip apart all of their traditions and their mythology and their culture. She actually leans into their culture and their traditions and mythology and almost religion around these machines. And sometimes there's mourning involved as people have lost their family members or their tribe members, and she will help them recuperate or like help them grief and mourn the loss of that. And I think it's beautiful and it's wonderful. And it stood out to me in this game because we live in a society now where it's like we just came through the like go watch Don't Look Up on Netflix. And that's a perfect example of like something as simple as a pandemic, a disease that is objectively wrecking humanity, and then look at the division amongst the truth versus the disinformation. And like in that world, we want to come in with the truth hammer and be like, no, this is what's really going on. It's very frustrating. So with that lens and what we're living through, what we have lived through, you see like the opposite, where like Aloy is actually leaning into their mythology. She knows they're wrong. She knows these machines are where they came from. No, it's not a god. No, it's not this lethal enemy that's going to, it's not a plague. You're not being punished. Like it's not this stuff. It's almost like, it's really, really cool and refreshing to see how sacrificial Aloy has to be to like, and empathetic really, not sacrificial, but like empathetic. Like let's put the truth aside and actually meet you in your need as a human, but also not like spread misinformation or truth that's going to hurt or harm this people.
Sure.
So she goes in and
always say that people have a reason for believing what they believe. Right? Like,
yeah,
everyone.
This game shows that.
Yeah, nobody's just like willfully being dumb or idiotic, right? Like everyone, right. Either they've been deceived or they have, like you said, misinformation. But like nobody's just sitting there being like, I'm going to willfully, like not like no, nobody does that. So like. Aloy is a great example of how to, she as a character, she serves as a good example as to how to like engage where it's like, okay, look, I totally understand why you believe this and I'm going to try to convince you of what I can, right? She doesn't even say like, I have to convince everybody like of all the truth. She just says like, if I can convince you that this one thing is true, and then I can get what I need from you, right? Like, yep. And that's, so yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. T-Bone asks a question, is that a Stormbird? Yeah. Yes, it is.
Yeah, it is a Stormbird, and it like bugged out. Did you see how it like bugged out?
Yeah, it like fell? Glitched into the, it clipped into the...
and it just sort of like glitched down, but I have no idea how I'm supposed to fight that thing. It was on the Golden Gate Bridge. Like I have no idea how I'm supposed to fight it otherwise.
And that's a great segue because I did want to talk about the new in this game, the variety of enemies. There's now not just simple machines that were like dinosaurs, but now there's apes, there's monkeys, there's boars that have been added.
Tortoise,
there's giant
like
elephants,
giant turtles and elephants.
Yeah, turtles, and it's really
the,
cool.
Like primary enemies, the what used to be just the regular stalkers are now like mole stalkers. They can go underground and stuff. It's kind of cool. That was a cool addition. I like that. Or they're like ferrets.
Yeah,
they're like ferret moles or whatever. Yeah,
scroungers, I think they're called. So that's pretty cool. Okay, the word crap apparently is flagged by Twitch here, but crap, I can't believe I have to face them again. Yes, you do. Stormbirds are there. But anyway, so like the side quests really flesh out all of what I was just talking about, the beautifulness of how Aloy interacts with the different tribes, because the side quests are really diving into each tribe's religion, culture, all of that stuff. And so like to me that's really fascinating and cool and made the side quests more appealing. In fact, I spent way more time at the beginning of the game not just mainlining it because I wanted to explore the world more. And so that was really cool.
Oh, the Gauntlet Mission, sorry, real quick, I forgot to mention, they almost ruined the game for me, but I think they've patched them according to you.
Maybe. When I just didn't have any trouble.
When I did them, they were, I mean, literally, if you are seeing my screen right now, like controlling this mount, simple like a simple like this, if done at the wrong time, the wrong way, I would go careening off like this and unable to get the mount back on track. I'm like, what is going on?
Whoa.
Like I would literally have my like going in the full opposite direction. It would do nothing. It was, and then of course the race is going on without you. It's just like, screw this. I'm so mad. It was bad. But
yeah, so there's gauntlet runs. They're like races on the mounts in the game, and there's tribes that participate in that for a very specific story-related reason that I won't say. And there are mini games. It's kind of a mini game. It's attached to it, and you have to do 2 of them for the trophy.
Drop it up
for a trophy to get the platinum. So yeah, I don't even know what time we are at.
Did you see? Do you see?
I did not see.
God among men. I dropped a bomb on it.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah, the bombs pick up. That's really cool. Yeah, without getting any spoilers. So what else do I need? Oh, the sound. The sound. Oh, my gosh. I found myself turning up the speakers a lot. I always adjust the balance of sound in games based on what I'm feeling. And, like, I find the combat noise kind of in the way. In most of games, that's just a Termite thing. So I always turn, like, sound effects down. And I leave music and dialogue up because that's the atmosphere to me, and that's the story. So atmosphere and story. The music and soundtrack in this game is awesome, and it cranks up during combat. It cranks up during story beats and moments, and I absolutely adore the music. I listen to video game soundtrack music regularly on Spotify anyway, like movie scores and such, but mostly video game scores. And this game needs to be added to my rotation because it's really, really well done. Fully orchestrated set pieces, like awesome. As far as my decision about game of the year, so far in the list of games that I have completed in 2022 that have been released in 2022, I think this is the best one. Yep. I'm looking at my list now. So far this is in contention for Termite's game of the year. Absolutely phenomenal game. I would rate it 9.5, 9 out of 10 now, especially after the patches at least. Maybe it would get a 10 if it wasn't for some of the still kind of clippy bugs that happened and weird glitchy things with like the hair animation and some clipping and stuff, but it feels very well polished, very fleshed out, very lush world, lots of fun to explore, and I absolutely loved my time with this game. And I never had the I just got to get this done kind of moment. Like I never got mad with it. It was just like
come back to it. Like you played everything else but it for a while. I don't know.
And I was saving it for it was I'm a person who saves the best for last. I always have. As a child growing up, I would put like whatever's on my dinner plate that I enjoyed the most, I would wait until the end to eat it unless it needed to be enjoyed hot, and then I would get it when I could. But I would always do my chores first before I'd play. I still do that now. I like get everything done in the evenings before I relax. Like everything has to be clean and put away perfect. I'm that kind of person. And so Horizon Zero Dawn had come out, and I enjoyed it when it first came out for the 2 weeks before Elden Ring did. And I was like, okay, I got the hype out of my system. Like, okay, I have to play this game. It's so new and so fun and so awesome, and I'm enjoying it so much. But then Elden Ring came out, and like that was a whole thing. So I did that, and then I went back to Horizon, and then Wonderlands came out, and I was like, okay, I got to get that done. And I was just saving Horizon for the decompressing, to know that I'm just enjoying this game. It is the comfort food, the fast food, whatever you want to call it. I'm using a lot of food analogies here, and just like coast and turn my frustrations all off. I turn the difficulty down to story and just enjoyed.
I think that a 10 out of 10 game is a game that is must play all the way through.
Immediately?
Right? That's what I would define it as. If you are not coming back to a game, it's not 10 out of 10.
Interesting. It's not that I didn't want to. It was like me trying to get other stuff out of the way.
Is a game that I'm like, I don't want to stop. I don't care. If there's something else that comes out, I don't care. I don't feel the pressure necessarily. If I'm playing it and I'm not done with it, then I'm going to keep playing it until I'm done with it. And right? Like, I don't know. That's me. That's me, right? I'm not necessarily saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that in my experience, if I'm like, I can put this down and do something else, then it's not 10 out of 10. That said, it was very important to me that I finish this game and so that I could pick something else up, right? Like there was an aspect of like, not platinum it, but I was like, the story was good enough for me to be like, I don't want to just stop this and pick it up later and forget half of it, right? Like I wanted to get the whole narrative all the way through. Gotcha. So that was good enough. So I think we can transition to talk about story now with the 15 minutes we have left before we got to switch over to Tiny Tina's. So I am now stuck I am literally stuck inside this.
See, and that's the stuff that I'm saying. Like, if that was done better, some of the like quest tracking stuff got broken too. Like, if you fast travel, it would just randomly select a different quest, and you may have seen that in my stream size. So that was a little annoying. That's why it's not a complete 10. But so far from what I've played this year, this is the best game so far, and
I see.
I love it. So I highly recommend if you have a PS4 or 5, it's phenomenal.
I like it. It's definitely for now. It's a must-have on PS5 only because ain't a lot to get to get on PS5. So cool. All right. Let's talk about story real quick. Then we have less than 15 minutes now. So
this is your spoiler warning.
Yeah,
if you care about spoilers, leave our stream. Fast forward the audio if you're listening later on podcast services. Turn everything away.
We'll be back in 20 minutes at 9:00 with the end of the spoilers. So
timestamp will be roughly 58. No, 58 to an hour. So overdo it and then rewind until we say we're done. So spoilery story review. Do you want to jump into it?
Yeah, let's rip the.
Here we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's rip the Band-Aid off and talk about the twist, the big twist, which is the Zeniths. The Zeniths being, of course, telegraphed at the very beginning of the game. I wasn't one of those nerds who knew about the Zeniths from the like quest logs or whatever in Zero Dawn, but I did as soon as they like the very first prologue quest, they introduced the concept of there was this group that wanted to escape the Great Pharaoh Plague or whatever which was the in Zero Dawn it was revealed that the bad guys made a nanobot swarm that was basically the Grey Goo hypothesis, where it used biomatter to fuel itself and replicate, and then it eventually took over the entire planet. So they had to wait for it to kill everything that was living on the planet, and then they had these machines do a bio reset or whatever. So in order to escape that catastrophe, some people, very rich people, of course, as soon as they were like, it was only the rich people, the billionaires, the 1%, they got in a spaceship and they flew to another planet. I was like, okay, well, they're coming back, obviously. Like, for some reason, they're going to be coming back. And lo and behold, that was the big twist. So,
the twist was that the ship was destroyed. They were
they thought the ship was destroyed. So the twist was they're
done.
Not destroyed.
Right.
And in fact, they're back and they're the bad guys now. Oh, and they're not just the descendants of the bad guys. They're the very ones who left in the first place. I mean, that one I didn't see coming, but it was also like, oh, okay. So what did you think of that twist? On the one hand, I thought it was a great twist. I thought it was well done, well executed, and it had its oh crap moments. Like I said, they telegraphed it a little bit, but who cares? It was still fun, and I enjoyed it, and I was pleased with it. On the other hand, what it led to was ultimately just like another twist at the end that was like, oh, but they were fleeing something even scarier, and that's going to be your bad guy in the next game. It's like they have to keep upping the ante, and that's what, like, the game started. In the first game, they started with, this was the apocalypse, and it went wrong. Our plan to escape the apocalypse went wrong, and so you are thrust into trying to, like, fix the way the apocalypse went bad. And now it's like they have it's like they have to keep going up and up and up with it, because it's like, now people from space, now a crazy artificial intelligence that those people from space made that's going to now consume the whole planet because it just wants to, because it's mad. Like, it just, they have to keep going up and up and up with it, and it's like, it's just, I think you said it best, where you're like, what's next? Are they going to be like, are they just going to keep doing this? Is like, oh, next big bad guy is this.
Well, I compared the very, very end, which we're talking about now, is the Nemesis, to this game as the very first game. The very epic, or like, end credit scene was an ally, Silence, was like working on something that seemed nefarious, and you're like, wait a minute, he's a good guy. He just helped Aloy through all of this Zero Dawn stuff. And now, so to me, the twist about the Zeniths being alive wasn't as intriguing as figuring out what the crap Silence has been doing, because they portray him as a bad guy. The first 2/3 of this whole game, Aloy's mad at him, and he seemingly betrays her all the time. And still, yet, they have to work together. And then so, at the very, very end, you realize Silence is aware of this Nemesis thing, and he knows who the actual bad guy is, and has tried to manipulate Aloy and the tribes that she's working with, and the Zeniths to like create a scenario that will end in survival. But then, like, this is an awesome badass moment for Aloy. Excuse the non-friendly use of a word there for a second, but how Aloy was able to, like, in her newfound confidence in who she is through lots of identity issues from the first game and now, and her place in the world and what she is as a hero, how she doesn't want the praise, she doesn't want to be recognized, she's very humble, but also like self-worth not really there, steps into a role, and that was a not so obvious twist, a very like turning point as part of the climax of the game. She's amassing allies as you go, and there's a point where she just takes the leadership. She's like, I'm doing this, and I know it's correct. And no one else, like, she kind of ruffles some feathers. There's another twist that one of the Zeniths seemingly betrays the other Zeniths and then becomes an ally. That's Carrie Ann Moss's voice. I don't remember her name. Tilda.
Tilda. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Tilda. And so like, in the back of my head, and like, I know she's gonna come back and like, she seems like an ally, but is she really, and all this stuff. But anyway, the focus to me of the whole like story arc was Aloy's transition. I love a good character arc. I love when the beginning of the game, the main character is vastly different from the end of the game, and that is very attracting to me. And good games do it really well, and this game is one of them. And Aloy stepping into that role, like that confident, I got this, and even coming up with her own contingencies and like sending off, like there's some whispering going on with both Beta, which we'll get to in a second, and the other two, Alva and Varl.
Let me real quick. I want to piggyback off that character development, because overall her story arc, yes, it was exactly what you're describing, where she has to go from I can do this all by myself to like, no, I can actually be a leader of people. The game was really leaning into what I like to call the friendship is magic trope, where you know basically it's like you know, I have to rely on my friends. I can't just do everything by myself. And they had the perfect, you know, they introduced the perfect character to demonstrate like the importance of that when they introduced Beta. Beta is another clone of the same person that Aloy is. So they're effectively they're genetically identical. They basically present them as sisters. And the whole game, like Aloy is like frustrated with Beta because Beta is so, I mean, literally her name is Beta, right? Like she is a Beta, right? Like she's not an alpha. She's very much like she's weak-willed. She's cowardly. She's everything Aloy is not. This hero, this tough, no nonsense, empathetic, extroverted character, and there's suddenly this like mousy version of herself, and she hates seeing her because she's like, she's not me. And yet, but the whole time she's asking, why aren't you like me? Why are you like this and not like me? And they end up answering my frustration with her character development is they answer it she answers it by attributing it to her surrogate father, Rost. She's like, I had this great man who raised me, and that's why I'm the way I am. But the actual answer that's staring her in the face is the friends. The friendship is magic. It's like right there. It's like her friends are the reason why she's able to be the way she is, right? And I feel like they could have it was just like they had the perfect setup, and then they missed their own point. It's like they missed their own point. It was like, wait a minute, guys. It'd be like me trying to teach my son a lesson and be like, son, you got to be careful of the thing in the backyard. There might be snakes under there. And then over and over again, I'm like, but there might be snakes under there. Be careful of the snakes under there. And then he goes under there and there's not snakes. And then he comes out and goes onto the staircase and there's a snake on the staircase. There's a snake on the staircase. Haha, not under the place I told you. It's like, it was incongruous and it annoyed me. But it was fine. I like good character development too. I feel like a lot of Aloy's character development came at the sacrifice of other characters' character development. Sylens went... You talk about characters ending in a place that's different from where they started. It's like... I guess Sylens had a bit of an arc where he had to realize that he wanted to help as well, but it was like he kind of just went back to where he started when we first met him, right? It was like, okay, I'm going to begrudgingly help you, right?
But it was more like him giving up the fact that he has all the knowledge. And he had to realize that. It was a quick moment, and I feel like it wasn't fleshed out long enough.
It was
very
rushed.
fast.
That's what I was very rushed. It was very rushed.
Because everything happened with the time it took him to walk up a flight of stairs.
And then Erend, and it was like Erend. They just made Erend a punchline, whereas Erend was one of the more deep characters I thought in the first game, and then they just sort of made him like a jokester and a punchline. I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
So I predicted that one character dying. The other Nora guy, I forget his name. I'm like, Varl, that's the one. Yeah, I predicted him dying. I was like, oh, he's way too happy with his new girlfriend to live. So there was that. And then I don't know. We don't have much time left, so I can let you have your final thoughts on the story, and then we can go on.
Yeah, I thought it was paced weirdly, and I thought it was like a lot of stuff was happening at the end. It was very fast and accelerated in its story. I thought it was very well paced at the beginning. And suddenly you just go, there's like two sets of story here, and like the first half of the story is actually like 2/3 of your time with the game, and I don't think that's correct. I think you should be
the
first half.
Well, as much as you said that, like the pacing was weird. Real quick, sorry, the quick thought on that was like, it was like they set up this race against the Zeniths. We got to get to the stuff before the Zeniths do, and then it's like, but also like have fun exploring the open world. Oh, and we want you to go to these 3 places, and in the games world, it's like you're gonna walk there. And it's like, wait, what? It like slowed down the pace right when you feel like the pace should have picked up.
Yep.
And
it
it's
was
like,
very,
it's really, the first game did a much better job with making the stakes feel like they fit well with an open world, where it was like, you still kind of there was a bit of a race against the clock, but it was also like, yeah, but you have time. You still got the sense that you had time. This one was like, there's no time. We've got to do this now. But also, we have an open world game with lots of side quests and content to get through. So,
yep, and sometimes like Aloy would actually talk and like narrate, I should go check on this other thing immediately after like this crazy plot point that was like, I need to get back to getting the things, and like, okay, it just seemed weird. But there's like a big story. Like the beginning of the game, you start off, you have to get Gaia's part like subordinate functions back. So you're sent out into the world to collect the 3 subordinate functions, and so that's somewhere where you actually meet not Aloy. You meet Beta, and then things escalate, and you're like, oh crap, like this stuff isn't going to happen. And so like the rest of the game is then after that. So slow to fast exponential graph. You can do the math there to figure out. Well, I wasn't very super happy with the pacing. And then the ending, just like so dumb, because the first game ended so perfectly. It was tied up in a bow. It was wonderfully done, executed. There was an epilogue which showed Sylens like mysteriously doing something. And you're like, ooh, just enough of a carrot to like get you intrigued. This game is very in your face, and it's like very clear. Here's this next thing, and it introduces it like it introduces it like you have to deal with it now. It's almost like the game's not over yet. Like this is a whole nother villain. It's like the last boss stepping into the game and saying, nope, that's for the next game. And I thought that was horrible. I just ended I was like, everything. I would rather them. Like, this is dumb.
I would have rather them hinted at it at the very end. And not even say what it was. Like now we know Nemesis, right? Like I would have rather it just like crash landed on Earth, right? You know what I mean? Like the classic, right? There is something like all the characters see that thing hurtling towards the sky through the sky, and then it just lands, and like something comes out, and that's it. And that's you could even have had Tilda Swinton's character like narrate, we were fleeing from something, like saying like the voiceover saying it. There was so many other ways they could have like legitimately dropped that, and it would have been like, oh, the next game. But you're right. It was just like
they revealed their hand.
Exposition right at the end of the game, and it was like, but don't worry about that now. Okay, I'm with you. There's gonna be a twist too. Like there's Nemesis is gonna be like sympathetic or something. I don't know. They're gonna do something with that though.
They have to. They revealed too much. Like they've shown everything. So at this point, it has to be something different in order to be intriguing. Is my only hope. I hope. I mean, I want it to be that way. So Yep.
So all right, cool. Yeah. Well, I guess have you switched over to Wonderlands?
I am ready to go to Wonderlands right now.
Woo woo! All right, cool. Yeah. Then I will. I'll have to put mine in at some point, so why don't you go ahead and get that pulled up, and I will stop this, and then I will get my game plugged in, and I'll be right back to talk about my thoughts. So we'll have a little bit of transitioning awkwardness, and then
there is no transition awkwardness. I'm here. I'm playing Wonderlands right now. So this
but I've got to talk, do a review. So
you do, but if you want to, I'll introduce the game. So this is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, a full blown game developed by Gearbox Software. Sorry, I had to get the actual name right because they have the new subsidiaries now. Published by 2K Games. Definitely the same team that made Borderlands 3. They're out. They made a full flesh game based on the DLC from Borderlands 2, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, which is a D&D game. So it's a game within a game. So this whole entire full-blown 60-ish hour platinum or 35-ish hour experience is you playing Dungeons and Dragons or Bunkers and Badasses with Tina as the DM, Bunker Master, BM, however you want to call it. And it's pretty much like Borderlands 3.5. It is a spinoff. Ton of fun. They've modified some of the mechanics from the original game. Borderlands has grenades. It does dabble in some like a melee hit, but this game allows you to have spells instead of grenades and allows you to wield melee weapons. And it's all painted in a fantasy overlay. So here's like your gear. You can get some armor. You get a couple of rings. You can get a necklace. You can get some spells. Of course, you have your 4 weapons and you have your melee weapon. But instead of a shield, it's called a ward. So it's another word for
it's a shield.
It's
they
a shield.
changed.
Yeah, I'm just saying
the spells and the weapons are the only things that actually mechanically are different. Everything else, I mean, it's gold instead of money. That's not like a meaningful change. It's just a reskin. They call it a ward because that's like something you get from something else. So cool. All right, I'll hop in, I guess. If you want to start playing, then I'll talk my review.
We are live with Termite playing Wonderlands right now.
Yeah,
all right. Runs.
So gameplay wise, it's Borderlands, which is kind of I think what everybody more or less wanted. The thing that I'll talk about some of the gameplay choices they make that made me mad, but the vast majority of the game is just the same leveling experience from Borderlands with a story and some cool, meaningful changes that really do freshen up the gameplay. And so I'll say the first thing that grabbed me about this game was the weapons, and then very closely followed by the spells. So like you said, in pretty much every Borderlands game, you have like a melee attack. And sometimes there are builds that augment the melee attack. Sometimes there are builds that even change the melee attack. But it's just the melee attack. There's no stats to it. The only thing you might get is you might have gotten guns with bayonets on them that increase the melee damage. Sometimes there were shields where when you ran out of shields, you got increased melee damage, but the melee attack didn't have any damage inherent to itself. It didn't have stats. It didn't have anything. They finally added that in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. You can get legendary weapons, melee weapons that drop, that have the same modifiers and stuff that the guns do, and so it's now part of the build. It's part of the meta is like a melee weapon, and they looked different. They would feel different to use. So there's a difference between hitting people with a great sword versus hitting people with a slashy dagger. And that was awesome. That was a really good choice that they finally made. And that is something they need to take into Borderlands, right? I want buzzsaws to feel different to use than like an iron knuckle or something, right? Like just the Borderlands equivalent. Like, and why not give me a lightsaber, right? Like it's Borderlands. They like lambast everything. So like, then yes, like put a lightsaber in the game and call it like a, laser scimitar or something, right? Like it's just something this is just literally change it. It's the same thing. So, and have Mr. Torg hated, of course. So, that was meaningful. The spells too, same thing. Like the grenades, they did do some fun things with the grenades in Borderlands 3, but overall, it was still just you chuck a thing and something explodes or does something silly. This, sure, sometimes you kind of chuck something like a grenade, but most of the time you're casting a spell. You even see the wand. Sometimes it charges, sometimes it's instant, sometimes it only casts around yourself, sometimes it, will summon a Hydra or something, right? Like they were all different and felt unique and flavorful and fun. You could blast them with meteors, you could blast them with lasers, and they all had the same kind of modifiers you'd find on the guns, elemental damage and stuff like that. So the spells were fantastic. The overworld I thought was nice. At first I was a little bit turned off by it, but then I realized that like without the overworld, with the overworld, they didn't feel like they needed to like cram a bunch of side quests into like bigger. They didn't have to make the areas all big and the map annoying and obtuse like it was in Borderlands 3. I just felt like that, like I could go into the overworld for some quests or I could not, right? Like, and the overworld was just a fun little like jaunt, you know. So I thought that was really, really clever way to freshen up. I will
showcase the overworld when I'm done with this chaos run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good choice and fun as well. Yeah, I feel like I appreciate the game a lot more having had some more D&D experience as well. Just again being able to kind of catch some of the references and stuff. It's really heavy in the D&D stuff, and at the same time, I felt that like I really wanted more cameo appearances. Like I understood that they were kind of introducing some new characters and not trying to completely like. I think they didn't want people just sitting there being like, who's going to show, right? Borderlands 3 was so controversial because some people showed up and others didn't. And the ones that didn't, the fans of the ones that didn't were like annoyed by it. And even the people who weren't the fans were like, oh, this would have been a natural fit to have this character come back and this character come back. So like, I get that they avoided that. And that was probably wise. They had Torg show up. Sorry, that might be a spoiler. Apologies. Like they have like a couple characters show up and that was good, but like I feel like that left me wanting more, and that's fine. It's okay. Just because like some of those characters in a fantasy setting are more fun than they are in a in a sci-fi space setting. So let me think here. I mean, other than that, it's got the loot grind. I think my biggest complaint with the game is the end game.
That's what I'm doing right now.
And the business decisions around that end game. Borderlands and Wonderlands have a frustrating thing where, at least Borderlands 3, where they have to be, they like introduce these fun weapons and then inevitably some are going to be overpowered. But instead of like bringing the other weapons up to the level of the overpowered ones, like the very first thing they did was they nerfed the overpowered weapons, and it was like, okay, there were fun weapons.
Game, which is
right for a game, exactly. PvE. It's like just like make it harder, or like I don't know. It's really frustrating that they just went in and nerfed it. It was my favorite. It was one of my favorite guns. It was called Liquid Cooling, and it just shredded things. And then by the time you got it, they had nerfed it, which I was disappointed by.
Yeah, it was terrible.
But when I had it, like I had like a level like 35 one, and I carried that thing all the way up to max level. I don't remember what the max level is, but I guess is 30 the max level? I don't even remember. The 40 or something.
Yep.
It's 40. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I had something small. I had like a level 28 one that I carried like 14 more levels. It was awesome. And then I got an even bigger one when I was going through Chaos Trials. The thing basically was like one of the, like it was modeled after the Cult of the Vault weapons in Borderlands 3, where they don't run out of ammo, but they overheat. And this was called liquid cooling because every time you got a crit, it would reset so you could literally fire it infinitely if you had a high enough crit build, which I did. So I could just sit there and shred things, and it was awesome because it did enough damage. But then I guess they nerfed the damage like significantly, and it was not great. So anyways, I didn't like the gun nerfing, but nevertheless, at the end of the game, there was only one like end game activity. It was called Chaos Trials, and it's just like, it was supposed to be like this like quote roguelike thing where you go in and you have X amount of lives and you have to get as far as you can, and it's procedurally generated and rada. You can choose to make it harder or easier depending on what like buffs you take throughout, and there were different rewards. And it was as about as vapid as that, right? Like yep. With maybe if that sounds interesting to you, it's much less interesting than you think. It was not as procedurally generated as you think. Each time you did a trial to try to up the level of it, like it would like fix it in place, and so you just like do it. So you'd know which one you were doing, and you'd know what bosses at the end of it. And yeah, it was, and the bosses were wildly uneven. I thought there were some bosses where it was just like
so hard
shred, and then there were some where it's just like the one the wasted or whatever, wasted, the son of a witch. So he's a wastard. Do you remember that one?
I don't.
Whatever, we'll get to it in the story. He would like summon a little thing that would refresh his shield, and like that thing had its own significant health, but like that thing should have been killed in like 2 hits, so I could just change to it, hit. it's no, that thing had its own health bar, and it would just summon and refresh his shields every time, and it was like, oh, it was so frustrating every time I got that boss and the Dragon Lord. I was just everything was frustrating. I got through it. I powered through it. I got good enough guns, and it wasn't that bad, but it was just annoying and boring, and I just didn't like it. And then they both simultaneously released DLC too soon. Like the game just came out like a month ago, and they're like, DLC's out now that you pay $10 for or pay the season pass for. So it's like, there's no way this DLC is going to be any good, is it? Because it's out too fast, right? And yep, that's exactly like it's apparently short, vapid, and hollow, just like the end game of Wonderlands. And I'm like, what happened to like the DLC they released for and charged $10 for is more money and less content than the seasonal events they would do in Borderlands 3, like the Halloween events and stuff like that. That was free. And then they just were like, here you go. I'm like, what the heck happened? And why are they like monetizing this so stupidly aggressively? It's just it's really frustrating that they did that. So yeah, that's what's frustrating. So my criticisms are mostly in that regard. If you just want to play, my recommendation for Wonderlands is this. If you're a Borderlands fan, get it. Play through the campaign, and that's it, right? Like, quit after that. Because it's just not... if you want the platinum, go for the platinum, but other than that, like, expect the frustration that I had, because that's it. I will probably revisit this game at some point and play with a different class or something, but I have no interest in getting the season pass. I'm so glad I didn't jump on that. I'm just
supposedly the story-based DLC that we're used to, like you get 4 for a season pass, is coming. So this early DLC wasn't supposed to. The fact that you can buy it standalone for $10 is stupid. That's atrocious. Stupid. But it does come in the season pass with the 4 other like big story DLC that's coming. That I'm interested in. I want to know about that, because then
I'm interested in it. But at the same time, I still haven't gone back and done Borderlands, the last half of the Borderlands like DLCs, the second season pass or whatever. I still haven't done the third one of the first. Like, I don't know. Borderlands as a franchise is having diminishing returns for me, and it's because like they're not trying to innovate, and the ways they are innovating seem like predatory innovation, right? Like this seems like you're innovating in the wrong way.
2K needs money.
I just was praising the innovations of the spells and the
which is true.
The melee, valid. Which are great. They are good, but it's like it's too little, too late. Like they should have done that stuff with Borderlands 3. I don't know.
You're almost critiquing the lack of innovation in the metagame of the Borderlands franchise in general.
That's as opposed to the
actual game
sort
itself.
Of mechanics. Yeah. But even so, like the game itself, it's just Borderlands with a fantasy flavor, which I know that's kind of what people wanted. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Cool. All right. Hey, Flanker Pilot's back, and he also said he noticed the lack of innovation in Borderlands 3, and I agree with that. So I was a little frustrated, actually, because, there's so many great games that have come out since Borderlands 2 that have innovated so well in this looter genre. Like, say what you want about Destiny, they've done some pretty good stuff with Destiny. Say what you want about Diablo, they've done some pretty interesting and smart things with Diablo's metagame. They could have learned any of those lessons. It seems like they didn't, despite the fact that this game was like inspired by the progenitors of those games too. It's but anyways, I think I'm at time. Oh no, I still got like 5 minutes.
Because I want to finish this Chaos Trial.
Yeah. Let's see. Gameplay, performances were great, fantastic. They added additional cast members, Andy Samberg and Wanda Sykes and Will Arnett, which are all fantastic performers, and they all sounded like they had a fun time interacting with the common thread between these two games that we're playing tonight. Ashley Birch playing the voices, lead characters in both of these games.
Yeah.
So this is the Ashley Birch stream. So Ashley Birch, if you're ever watching this, we love you. We think you're great. We think you're awesome. You're an incredible performer, and we would love to have you on our show. So please talk. You're never going to see this, but whatever. We'll fan gush anyways. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Ashley Birch, being of course Tiny Tina, it was her first acting gig. Her brother was Anthony Birch, who wrote for Borderlands 2, and so yeah, he got his little sister to play the little sister of the game, Tiny Tina, and that pretty much launched her career. And she's awesome in that, and she's awesome in this, and she brings that Tiny Tina flair that I love to the character. And then yeah, her supporting cast is great as well. The writing is okay in this one. It's not as bad as it was in Borderlands 3, all things considered. It sounds like they may have finally learned their lessons about bad guy writing. Will Arnett was fantastic as the Dragon Lord, and the Dragon Lord was a character whose motivations at the very least kind of made sense eventually. It was a little what am I trying to say? It was a little convoluted, but like in a way that I'm like, it's Borderlands, whatever. Yeah, I mean, it was a follow up to Assault on Dragon's Keep, but I still think Assault on Dragon's Keep was better. All things considered, is kind of like my verdict.
Which but they have still had there's a standalone version of that, so you can go get just Dragon's Keep if you don't want to get Borderlands 2 and play through all that. You don't have to. You can just go get Dragon's Keep.
It's
one shot.
Yeah, you do that. Yeah, it's good. Oh gosh, gun design. The guns in the game were. Yeah, I mean, like, they kind of went with the Borderlands 3 thing where it was like, oh, each gun manufacturer has their shtick, and then the legendaries do, like, a little extra shtick. And so that was okay, right? Like, I kind of wish that they had gone a little bit more into the fantasy flavor. Like, they joked that at the beginning it was, like, guns in a fantasy world or fantasy game or whatever. And that was, like, okay, haha. And then they just kind of ignored it. But, like, the first game did the opposite. It was like, of course there's guns in bunkers and badasses, but is there a gun that shoots swords? Yeah, the swords explode? Yes! So I wanted more of that. I wanted to see, and they basically made like half of the guns, they made like crossbows, and I was like, okay, well then they could have like, there's plenty of other ranged weapons they could have made the other guns, right? Like they could have been crossbows, they could have been regular bows, they could have been slings, they could have been ballistas, they could have been trebuchets or catapults, right? Imagine
cannons. Like rocket launchers could be a straight up cannon off of a ship,
or like the rocket launchers could have been catapults, right? Like imagine like a boom or whatever. That would have been awesome, right? Yeah. They could have been, they could have looked like spears or something, and then just shot bullets out of the tip. Like they should have leaned, I think, into that creativity a little bit more. And it just really seemed like once again they were rushing the design and just kind of like copying, drag and drop from Borderlands 3, and then just kind of reflavoring it. I was expecting a lot more references to like fantasy stuff too, right? Like there was plenty, obviously, but it's like I was kind of expecting 1,000 and I got like 500, right? And and that's okay. It's not the end of the world, but there was a lot they could have leaned into. I mean, once again, I feel like they crammed more video game, like fantasy game references and fantasy story, like novels and television. I feel like they crammed more of it into Assault on Dragon's Keep, which is like a third of the length of this, than they did into this, the full length game. So that was just like, again, I don't know. It just feels like the game was fun, right? Like I know that both these games I've sort of like pooped on a little bit tonight, but
only because you love the Borderlands franchise so much.
I do. I want the Borderlands franchise to succeed. I want it to be good. I will say that the character customization was fun, and it was a good. I feel like they can still make the characters like specific people in the future ones, because we like that idea that they're like characters that we get to then see later. I do like that aspect of it. But I also like the customizable characters, and I really hope that they kind of like find a way to lean into that in Borderlands 4 as well. Like give us more like control over how we customize, Moze to look like the way we want her to look. And I know that might be difficult when they have to come bring her back, but just give her a canon appearance, right? Like give her whatever defaults are the canon appearance, and then everything else allow me to customize for my game. So, that's that. I also wouldn't hate like male and female versions of each of the main, like male and female Moze or male and female. I guess they couldn't do it with the sirens, but whatever. So anyways, cool. Or I guess, wait, in this game, they don't say male and female. They say this body type and that body type.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is nice.
That was funny.
Cool.
It was an amusing way of doing something that actually is probably fairly meaningful to a lot of people out there. So why not?
Yeah.
So, all right, I think I'm at time. So, I will let you talk about. Oh, I guess I should play the game, shouldn't I?
Yes, I am showcasing the overworld that you mentioned at the beginning. That was kind of new and fresh to anything Borderlands. This is completely new. It's also a way to get between areas in the world. And as you can see, this is very much like a game board. There's a thumbtack over here. There's bottle caps that bridge gaps. There's dice, like 6-sided die. Uh-oh. Oh, there. Oh, why is their frames dropping? It's not in my camera. It's in my game. That was weird. I wonder if my PlayStation was barking. You can see like popcorn over here. So this is there's like Cheetos on the board. It's fun. It's obviously like the desk that they're playing on. League of Legends vibes from the Overland. It does have that art style for sure. There's some Cheetos and
I like the oversized heads on they're because if you've played D&D before, you have tokens in the actual like, which you're supposed to play in person. You're supposed to have little like printed out like miniatures, and the miniatures never look exactly like the way you want your character to be because they're miniature, right? So they're leaning into that, but then it's even taking it even bigger extremes in like online play, because usually you're like, at least the way I ran my group, is I got little 8-bit versions for the tokens, but then I had all this like cool artwork for your characters, how they're supposed to look. I feel like that I was doing that on purpose as a way to sort of like simulate this aspect of like your token's gonna look silly, but you're in your imagination supposed to look really awesome.
Yep.
I like how they leaned into that and made you look silly on the overworld. So, well, I'm gonna suck at this because obviously they've like nerfed my weapons. So we'll see how this goes. All right, you can switch over and you can talk. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Yes, I'm actually going to take a restroom break, so I'll switch over to your stream so people can see you playing. RND got nothing on you. Another example of Ashley Birch's voice acting that I loved.
Do you? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to switch.
I was going to say we should have co-worked. We should have co-opted.
We still can. I can jump into your game, but I can deal with that after I use the restroom.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just jump into your game. Like, I don't know if you have to make it open.
You don't like to talk and play, though. I thought you don't like to talk and play.
I can talk and play. With being a secondary character, you don't have to worry about that. So if you make your game socially open, public invites or whatever, friends only, so I can just jump into your game, you might have to press, that.
Yeah, I got you.
Yep. All right, I'm going to use the restroom real quick. I will be right back, and then I'll talk about my review of the game.
Cool. All right, well, I guess I can talk and play and all that stuff. Oh, man. How's my stream look? Does it look smooth? Last time we were having issues. I got to do what now? Let's see. Social. And then I got to go. How do I change it? Oh. Looking for help. Oh, no. Social. There we go. I'll just invite him. There we go. It works. Huzzah. All right. Looks good. All right. So, yeah, let's see how this goes because I sent you an invite. Oh!
I did. I got that. So I'm going to use it to jump in.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely worse.
To join your game.
It's functional.
Oh, right.
But so, definitely worse.
Termite's review. What does Termite think of this game? Let me turn your game up a little bit. Initially, I loved the fantasy aspect of Wonderlands. That was... Why does it feel like... Oh, it's my controller speaker. I was like, where is this sound coming from? I loved the fantasy aspect of the game. I was very, very much intrigued by D&D. I thought it was a great spin-off. The story was initially funny, comedic. Mechanically, it drives me nuts that the mini-map is not 60 frames per second when the rest is. It was like that in Borderlands 3, and it drives me nuts. And it still does. So there's a couple of performance options.
You're hacked game.
Don't worry about it.
You can come here and just completely troll everything and hacked the game. Whatever.
I think I may have just swapped out a gun here. Whoa.
Whatever. We'll do the hardest stinking thing.
Of course. But I accidentally held triangle on a weapon that was not the one I was using, so I swapped it out, and now I don't know where it went. I don't know.
I should have never invited you to this game. You gotta talk. You gotta get out of here. Get out of here. I'm gonna kick you out so you can do your review. What is Termite think of this game?
I've got to get your voice off my controller. Hold on. No, controller speaker. Turn that off. Okay. Because you have your sound set to HDMI out. Don't kick me out. It's fine. I can talk.
No, get out. No, you have 2 seconds. Talk about the game.
Yes.
All right, talk about the game.
Right. So the story of the game is funny. It has that Borderlands charm to it. However, they had to go for a teen rating, I guess, for sales. Again, another business decision that kind of hamstrung the creativity of the writing team, because there's a lot of poop and fart jokes, believe it or not, that are like really kind of in the middle of this game, like that are just like kind of dumb.
I love poop and fart jokes. I don't know about you.
I mean, they were like funny initially, but then it was like, you're a stupidity dum-dum. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of eye-rolly. So that was annoying. And I like the narrative. I like the characters. Like you said, Trogue came in, really funny, great Borderlands stuff. I'm not going to spoiler now. We will get to spoilers later. So great Borderlands moments, like my wife's walking through and laughing at stuff as stuff happens. The voice acting, of course, I agree with you that Wanda Sykes, Will Arnett, Andy Samberg, Ashley Burke are all absolutely incredible. They do wonderful voice acting in this game. The fantasy setting just made it for me. I absolutely love it. I actually like it more than I do the sci-fi of Borderlands. The pre-sequel, for example, took you to the moon and like really leaned into space traversal and like that whole sci-fi thing. I like this better, a lot better. I like spells. I like wards instead of shields, even if it is just a naming change. I think I only played one class. I'm a spellcaster, and there is 4 different classes. You can get a secondary class later for more customization. The problem that this game leans into with all of that customization is that I'm overwhelmed again, kind of like I was with Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West, where there's just too much. And you'll see it in our stream as we're playing right now. There's just loot everywhere. And this loot is valid for specific builds. Like, it's actually good. So if you wanted to care about
some of it's just half garbage, some of it's just
most of it's garbage. But if you see legendaries, you're like, oh, this is really good for a Stabomancer. This is really good for a spellcaster. And so if you cared enough about collecting the legendaries because they're rare, you might want to like grab them and save them for maybe exploring a different class. And that's fine if you want to ingest the knowledge of like all the different classes and how they're all built and like what their secondary attributes are and skill tree. That's what the internet's for. I'm just going to go look up an optimized build. I read that a spellcaster with a secondary class of Spore Warden was the best for the platinum. So yes, that's always been my problem with Borderlands legendary guns. Only 10% of them are good, is what T-Bone said in chat, and I totally agree. This game just like throws up.
Your mic keeps kind of giving in and out like constantly.
What do you mean by in and out? Like quiet, loud, or like gargly?
No, like it cut. It's like it is in the podcast sometimes where it like cuts out for like a half second. So
that's annoying.
I don't know if there's anything we can do about it in a timely way, but just letting you know that it's happening.
If I change my mic setup now, I'd have to like spend time.
I know, it's fine. We'll just deal with it. It's okay.
I agree with T-Bone. The loot is just thrown up at you everywhere all the time, and it is super obnoxious because you want to spend the time to like get it all and look through it all because it's legendary, it's rare, it could be awesome, it could change my build. But it always the return on investment of time is just never there. So that's annoying. And let's see, graphically, the game's art style is the same as Borderlands. It's got that comic book kind of thing, and the hard outlines but in this game, unlike Horizon Forbidden West, the facial animations in this game are jank. They look awful. Like, characters are awful in this game. Uncanny Valley isn't even enough to describe how jarring it looks. It's bad. It's just bad. I'm sorry. The writing and the humor and hey, you kicked me. What the?
I did. It's boring. You kill everything in seconds because you're hacked guns. You're hacked. You're a hack, and I don't want to play with cheating hackers.
But you get level 20 weapons.
It's boring. I'm bored. You killed everything. I'm bored.
Yeah, really quickly. And you just run through level 20, endgame
It's boring for the people to watch me not do anything while you do everything. So I'm going to kick you out, and I'm going to do something more fun.
You are lame.
I am.
Enjoy spending.
I'm the lame one. I'm the lame one who's hacking the game with my boring lameness.
I didn't hack it. I was just given good weapons by another player.
You were given hacked weapons by another player,
and I used them to reduce the half-hour grind to a 5-minute grind, and I feel no guilt or shame about it.
We're playing a game for fun tonight, so I want to play the game the way I want to have fun. All right. Sorry if you're offended by that.
No, I don't really care. Because the end game grind, like you had mentioned, the meta of this is broken. It's broken. It's just broken. Like the level 20 chaos trial. You're doing a chaos trial now. And the idea is if you do a chaos trial at level 1, you complete it, you unlock level 2. That whole system is complete garbage and broken because you have to, as a player, go through a very specific sequence of menus to verify that you're on the right chaos level. And then if you don't do it right, you don't get a chaos level. And these things can take 30 to 45 minutes per run because of the things like you're dealing with now where you die and then you start over. And it's a pain. So I did not enjoy that at all. I did enjoy exploring all the different biomes. I thought the different areas were fun, unique. I enjoyed the world. The overworld is super fun, as I mentioned earlier, as a way to bridge the gap between all the different places you go. Every single big new area has new NPCs to interact with, new side quests to do, maps to explore. The way the trophies were lined up for the platinum were perfect. You didn't have to grab every single collectible. You didn't have to explore every aspect of the map, which is what Borderlands 3 kind of fell into, where it became tedious and annoying. The worst of the trophies were the chaos run, the chaos levels at the end. But completing the game from beginning to end, the full cycle of the story was great. I had a great time with it. It kept my attention. I wanted to come back more. I wanted to keep playing. However, like all of the cool things that I used to love about Borderlands, like building out the characters and with the different types of weapons and the different types of shields and all the stuff, was just to me overwhelming. So I just went online, I rolled and found a build and went with it.
Base rolled? I rolled?
Yes, I rolled. I rolled over all of the different combinations, yes, of character classes, secondary classes, and build gear combinations and skill tree boosts. And I was just like, give me the thing that works. I don't care about any of this stuff anymore. It's too much. It's too much variability there. Hence why I went with someone who gave me hacked. See, you got to turn it down. You wouldn't have had to do that with me. You would have just grinded level. You could have gotten one of those volatile guns that are super rare. I wouldn't have had to do it if they didn't
nerf my guns. If they didn't
now you gotta waste more time grinding.
I'm just gonna do something fun. I'm having fun. I'm playing the game for fun. I'm not playing the game to accomplish anything, Termite, because I've already accomplished it.
Accomplishments are fun. Ooh,
they are
your
fun.
Game just like
so
suddenly
got
louder. Someone turn it down a little bit. Is there anything else? Let's see. It does have a 120 hertz / 120 frames per second at 1080 mode, which is kind of fun on PS5 and Series X. If you care about that, I don't have a TV that can do it, so that's not my thing. But the resolution it is at 60 frames per second, so you're getting almost a 4K. And I think it dips down to like 1800 according to Digital Foundry, and the frame rate's pretty consistent, except for when there's a lot of alpha effects going on. So if you have these crazy guns that like spit out a ton of different sparks and things going on, the frame rate will drop some, but it's not jarring. So mechanically, it's sound. It makes sense. It doesn't like flip out and freak out. So that's good. I talked about the art style. That's good. The music didn't really like. I kind of, it's just background noise. But yeah, I will say during our D&D that we did, you and I and Java Fiend, friend of the show, I did put up a soundtrack of D&D over stuff, and some of the Wonderlands music like came through, and that was kind of fun. It put you in the mood, so that was pretty fun.
Yeah,
that was cool. So like while it doesn't stand out during gameplay, it is something fun to have. And I listen to game soundtracks all the time, so not horrible, but also not like standoutish and amazing. So what else is there to talk about? We talked about it's a game within a game, so it's kind of cool when cinematics happen. I feel like there was some Tiny Tina character development that was short-circuited by some of the other events in the game, but I guess we'll talk more about stories in our spoilery section. We're almost there, actually. We've only got like 2.5 minutes left to talk about it. So does anyone in chat have any questions about what Wonderlands is? This game's actually, there's not a lot to talk about like there was with Horizon, because it is so much like a reskin of Borderlands 3. It's almost copy-paste with some of the different things there. I see like some chat happening between some folks here. The DLC was worth it. Don't like having good weapons / builds being locked behind paid DLC. Speaking of hacked guns, I remember Borderlands 1 having hacked weapons where the stats were boosted like 1,000%. That's what I just used. Yes, I did that. I had so many of those guns and just wrecked things. Yeah. And Flanker Pilot's talking about playing before DLC came out. It's disappointing that they did that.
You don't have to literally read everyeverything.
Well, I was trying to externally process. Yeah. And plus for the audio, like the podcast, I want to make sure that they're caught up.
Well,
because this would be spun off as a bonus
they're listening to a stinking podcast instead of watching a live stream. Which
they can do that.
Again, they don't know what they're missing. So
yeah, come to twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash.
Well, I was saying they don't know what they're missing, so it's not going to hurt them, right? What they don't know won't hurt them.
Oh, that's true. Man, you are just full of it.
But now they know. Now you're like, like full of it in a good way, or full of it in a like, which kind of way? There's lots of ways to be full of it.
No, you are not lying. Let's put it that way.
Dice roulette.
So, okay, here's a good question. Did Wonderlands keep the mayhem system from Borderlands 3? The chaos system is the new version of that. And you saw in Penguin's stream, he turned the chaos level down from 20 to, I think it's 15. My camera, or me and like Penguin's camera is blocking the number, but underneath of the character level in the center of the screen is a little red shield emblem. Below that is the chaos level. You can apply that to your entire game. So it's not just the chaos trials or the chaos runs, which is a very specific thing you're doing, but you can apply that to the whole overworld and to all of the game after you beat everything, kind of free roaming, and that will change the loot pools. So what I mentioned earlier when Dan was complaining about my hacked weapons and why they're useless, what it does enable me to do is very quickly grind the highest chaos level, which is 20, and there's these specific versions of guns. So you have a legendary, which is yellow, but then you have a chaotic version of that, and you have one on your screen right now. You can see it. And then there's even higher level. There's a volatile legendary, so it's chaotic and volatile, and they're modifiers to the weapons. So those are legit guns that are generated by the RNG of the game. So what I want to do is use the hacked weapons to quickly grind the level 20 chaos levels, which are the only way you can get volatile gear, whether it's shields, spells, rings, necklaces, and weapons. And so when I have a full character, if I care enough to continue playing this game in the future with DLC, I will then use the hacked weapons to very quickly grind level 20 chaos runs to get volatile gear, which is legit generated by the game that would carry into
the entire world. I don't know why I do a podcast with you.
To me,
I want to cheat so that I can play the game. Oh, I can't wait to play the game legitimately after I've cheated. Fine.
Yes, because I don't like a very
folks.
It is. I don't like the grind. I don't like the padding. To me, it's unnecessary, useless padding of time. I don't feel like I'm
the entire premise of the game is you don't like the game then.
I guess not. I mean, I love the story. I want to play through the main quest, hit max level. That's what I've done in the past with Borderlands. I've never done endgame content before. I never did the big bosses or the raid content. I just play the main game and bounce after the
gun got a buff. So nice. Look at this gun.
Hey, you found something.
Look at me go with this gun.
There you go.
It's a death gun too, so it heals me, or the death magic or whatever.
Nice.
There you necromancy.
Go. Yeah, there you go. That's another aspect of the game I can talk about. The spells. There's different types of spells. There's dark magic. There's fire, frost. There's all the different elements you would expect from the weapons you can also apply to your spells. So you get some fun. Like I had one spell that like sent out a tornado and it grabbed all the enemies and twirled them all around. So it's kind of a crowd controlling spell. That was kind of fun. And then there's another spell that like you yell and it creates a bubble around you and it does damage to everything in the bubble, which is kind of cool. Kind of an explosion type spell. So yeah. So my biggest complaints here are the end game grind that you and I both showcased here the most because we both finished the game. I thought it was awful and painful and not fun at all, and I was extraordinarily frustrated. Lots of cussing
and I agree.
And yelling. That to do that for the platinum was awful. To continue doing it afterward is useless. Hence why I used hacked guns to mitigate all of the frustrations with it. Vastly accelerating the pace at which you can do it, which removes all the frustration. Therefore, it makes it extraordinarily fun for me. I would never use hacked weapons to like get through story content because I'd want to actually fight the bosses the way that you're intended to fight them. So I only use the hack weapons for these chaos runs, which are stupid and useless.
Well, I can't really blame you for doing it for the platinum trophy, but the weird thing for me that you're saying is I want to use it to grind out other weapons. Like, no, you still want to grind out the other weapons, and that's fine because the grinding part of the game is usually optional. So like,
it is right, but when you can reduce it from like 10 hours down to like 2, I'm in. That sounds fun. So I don't have time to waste.
You might not be able to because grinding usually implies some kind of RNG. So
right,
you can make it faster.
All you can do is just make it faster. That's the only thing you can do. Yeah, if you want legit stuff. Right. So I'm gonna do that. If I had to score the game, I would say like 7 out of 10. It seems
like a waste of time. Just don't do it. Like you don't need it.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. I want to carry good gear into the next DLCs and like, have good gear because that part's fun too. So yeah, if I had to score the game overall with all of its flaws, I would put this at a 7 out of 10. It would definitely not be my game of the year. I hope they've learned lessons here for Borderlands 4, namely don't keep it limited to a teen rating and like use some of the actual Borderlands theme and lore and how that's contextualized. Like
as much
Borderlands
as
is an adult game, like it should be, and that's how they've set the precedent to the first 3, and even Borderlands 3 is pushing it. Borderlands 1 and 2 were dark.
As much as I don't like care for Destiny, like Destiny had some like stuff to do, right? At the very least, like
content. Yeah,
they don't need to go like full blown like raid mode, but like they need to do something else other than let me try this thing out. They just need something different other than like the stuff, like whatever they're trying for the end game is not working, and they need to make sure that there's plenty of stuff to do. Like nobody grinds gear in these games for nothing, like to just do the same thing over and over again. I mean, yeah, I guess they do, but like what makes it compelling is like having stuff to do and having aspirational content that's not just, oh, the enemies are stronger, you can make everything do more numbers and have higher health points. It's like that's boring. Like make it an actually hard, challenging piece of content that makes people want to get stronger in order to beat it because it's hard, not because it's just like a bullet sponge, right? Like because so like encourage dynamic gameplay, encourage team gameplay like that. I don't know. So Destiny always did a really good job of that, or has done a good job of that over for a long time. They need to look to games like that to improve. Like that's just my thought is Destiny and Diablo look to those games is in regards to how to improve the content and make it more meaningfully interesting. So
I agree.
All right.
Yep.
Story. We don't really have too much to talk about here. I had
spoilers. Everyone, if you want to avoid spoilers for Wonderlands and the story that happens, please fast forward. It looks like we're going to be around for another 15 minutes.
You can just be done here. Yeah, because
which would be a good chance for listeners to know where you can find us, who we are, and other places that we exist, and what we're doing here. This is an offshoot, a live stream where we review games. We try to do this once a month. It's a new thing we've started for 2022. So once a month, look for us. Follow our social media channels to listen for when we are going to do our 2-hour stream where we will review a game that we care about. We thought it would be fun to do this live play along, let's play while we talk about the game and give it a proper review. We've never done that before. So you can find all that information and keep in touch with us over at 80bitpodsmash.com. That's our landing website where we have links to all of our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Reddit. And we don't really use Instagram a whole lot anymore, but we do keep up with Facebook and Twitter mostly. And of course, our Discord server link is also there, and we live chat with everyone there in response to comments, questions, concerns, thoughts, and ideas. So give us all of that feedback. Tell us what you want to see. Tell us how you think about our review streams. If it's even a good idea, are you enjoying your time here? all of those things and more. If you are our core product of what we do is a weekly video game podcast that goes live every Monday around midnight, and we have not missed a Monday in 5 years. We are in 200s of episodes now, and we always have a fun discussion, a topic that you care about, and we smash that together about video games. So look out for all of that at 80bitpodsmash.com. There's podcast platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, everywhere you want us to be. We have a YouTube channel as well. And
man, we're going to run out of time to even talk about story the way you're going here. Like,
I'm trying to talk fast.
You're doing an extra long one.
Well, it's because we're on Twitch, and it's like this is going to be uploaded to YouTube. So people are listening here on Twitch. People are listening on YouTube. People might be hearing our podcast because it's a bonus episode. And so I just want everyone to know where we are, what we do. And I think I've covered it. You interrupted my last thing, which was YouTube. So 80bitpodsmash.com. It's our website. Go there. Links to everything.
Cool.
Here we go. Spoilers. You've been warned.
Spoilers. So I absolutely loved Mr. Torg blowing up the ocean. Was the
best. That's the epitome.
Highlight.
That's the highlight of the whole game.
That was the most Borderlands moment in this game, and absolutely was an absolute delight. He was a bard, number one, which was awesome in and of itself because he played his lute like he does. So, Mr. Torg showing up was a delight. I also was happy that Brick showed up too, because Brick was also one of the more fun parts about the Tiny Tina thing. And in general, I just love Brick and Tina's relationship. So, Brick showed up as the magical fairy goddess, godmother, or whatever. They had, I didn't it wasn't even noticeable to me that they made more kid-like jokes. I thought
they really did. Yeah. It was,
maybe now it's once you see it, you can't unsee it kind of thing. So maybe I'll notice it now more, but definitely didn't notice it at first. So, whatever, it's fine. But I thought it was good. I liked like I said, Andy Samberg's character as being I want to be a hero and blow hard, and Wanda Sykes being I want to be a stickler about the rules. It was literally
me and you.
But also it's but it's also it's very much the two primary kinds of D&D players as well. It's there are some people that are no, you have to what's fun is the rules surrounding the game. What's fun is the restrictions and stuff. And there's some people that are I just want to role play being a badass awesome person or whatever. And so they really capture that aspect of D&D really subculture very, very well. Yeah. I hate Freezicles. He's the worst. I probably shouldn't use ice against him, should I? The story, Tiny Tina and then the Dragon Lord was her character that she made a long time ago previously in an older game that she played with Roland, and that character became evil because of the actions. So that character was the evil. It was very meta, and that was okay. It was meant to kind of demonstrate Tina's character development and how she came to and so it was fine. It had meaningful enough story for that character. I like how they kind of connected it to Roland again, because the first game was connected. The first D&D game was also connected to Tina processing her feelings for processing the feelings of coming to terms with Roland's death. And so I like that they kind of carried that legacy on, but sort of in an even kind of deeper way. That was good. And but yeah, other than that, there wasn't that much to the story other than that. So
there was little tidbits where they touched on Tina has a lot of insecurities about abandonment and being alone. She's terrified of being alone, and the other Borderlands games have highlighted those aspects of her. And in this game, which is about Tiny Tina, she's in the title, she goes down that path and quick little dialogue, and then it's just quickly ripped away, and I'm there was something really, really good here. The whole idea of the Dark Lord and his founding is all relative to that thematically, and because he is kind of that, he's kind of Tiny Tina's character manifested through a game within a game's character, where he is left seemingly alone, turned on, and then wants to get revenge for being left out and neglected, and he comes back and it's oh, you just tossed me away some character. No, I'm going to take over the whole game. So that twist there at the end was kind of cool. I did enjoy that because it is a reflection of Tiny Tina's own insecurities, but I really wish they would have leaned into that a little more instead of just I thought all of the side quests content was silly and none of it was really engaging. I didn't really care too much about what the NPCs were doing. And that was a stark contrast to Forbidden West, where it was actually world building and caring about the cultures of the different tribes. This is just fetch quests to me. It might as well just been like, go kill 10 pigs, like go find my toenail. Like, I don't care. And I had to do some of the stuff for levels and some of the stuff for, you had to do all the side quests in the game for the trophy. So I had to go through it all. So that was kind of not a really good thing about the story, but the core story, Valentine, the robot that Wanda Sykes plays as, Tiny Tina, Torg, the Dark Lord, and their interactions were good. And it kept me engaged. I loved the main plot, the main story beats, kept me going. So that cool. Aspect of this is good.
Yeah. Trying to think. I mean, Torg blew up an ocean.
Yeah,
so
it was called
the Notion. Yeah.
Which was awesome. Yeah, that was definitely the best. And unfortunately, there weren't any more highs other than that, as far as like, this is hilarious and like die laughing.
Some okay stuff. I like the Geralt of Trivia, the Garrett of Trivia quest line. That was pretty funny, where he's just like, "But you're not, because I'm the greatest monster hunter ever," and then he ends up just getting like raffle stomped by whatever the boss was. It was pretty funny. I thought it was funny. I was like, "Yeah, that's Geralt. That's Geralt for sure."
Yep.
So that was fun. Man, this dude's like stomping me. I never understood Freezicles. He's bones, so you have to do cold damage to him, but he's immune to cold. So you have to, but then I don't like Freezicles.
I don't know. I just used that gun I had, and I just pressed the trigger, and he's dead. I don't care.
I just used the gun I had. I just cheated the game.
Yeah, I don't really care. Because it's annoying. Yeah. That's the problem with the game. Not with me. That's the problem with the game. I should care. And the game should make me want to care. It should be better.
Get good, scrub.
Or, sure. Spend more time. Freezicles.
Get good. All right, well,
you're on the struggle bus. Yeah, I forgot about the Geralt of Rivia like side quest riff, and that was pretty funny. That was actually the one side quest that was great. However, it had nothing to do with the world of Wonderlands. It was just a big giant riff on The Witcher, which was funny and it was good.
So many of their quests in Borderlands, though, are like, this has nothing to do with anything other than we're making a joke right now, and like, you either love that sense of humor or you hate it,
right?
And
with that quest, I loved it.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah. With that specific side quest, I absolutely loved it. But there was like another side quest where you like go and fetch this woman is in love with another lady, and you have to like get them to fall in love, and it's ridiculous and like stupid. And I'm like, this is just like, you can do a love triangle story or a love story that is so much better quality, the writing, and that's where I go back to like,
can you though? Teenagers. Like, I'm just saying, I'm like, the love stories are hard, man. Like, love stories are genuinely hard, and sometimes like the ones that you don't think are going to be any good end up being great, and sometimes the ones you think are like, this is a shoo-in. You know what I mean? Like, love stories are some of the harder things to write. So when you're like, you could just write a so much better love story, it's like, I don't know, man. Like, it takes a very good writer to write a good love story in the first place, and Borderlands writers aren't very good, but also love stories are such low-hanging fruit that like anyone can, like, so many people think they can write them.
Yep.
So it's definitely no, I'm with you on I actually am with you on most of the side quests. We're kind of just like, okay, whatever, like like even the claptrap ones were just like, okay. So look, I rogueliked myself out of it. So
you did
fun.
You've wasted everything. You got.
I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with this stupid game.
See, I'm telling you. Yep.
No, I'm
just feeling it.
I'm joking. I was making funny. That was a joke, but I am probably gonna uninstall it. I'm done with it because of the DLC being stupid, and I just have no interest now in buying the season pass in general. It was fun. It was. It's one of those things where it's like I like taking it, and then like a bag of potato chips. I like the first half of the bag, but the rest of the bag is going to make me feel sick. So, ironically, now I'm going to go eat the rest of the potato chips that I have, because now that I said something about it, I'm like, those are actually really good potato chips, and I want to eat them. But most of the time, if I get to near the end of the bag, I'm like, eh. And that's kind of how this game is. It's like, potato chips. It's good, but not really good for me, and probably just need to like clear up my space on my hard drive. So
I just uninstalled both games that we reviewed tonight. It's done, so I've freed up a lot of space on my hard drive. It's over.
Yeah, girl. Yeah. What are we gonna stream next then? We knocked out. We're covering through the games of 2022 pretty fast. Yeah. What have we not covered that came out in 2022? Then we will have Pokemon. Like we go back and do
Arceus,
Pokemon now that we did. Then we've done this. We haven't. If you're gonna get Sifu now, that's gonna have an easy mode because you're just bad at games, I guess.
Got that platinum in Elden Ring
because it sounded hard. So,
yeah.
You did.
So
you killed
awful
Melania.
at games.
Hey, listen, you killed Melania, so I can't say that you're bad at games.
I did that. So
because Melania is like
got that Returnal Platinum too. So you can't. Really
did you like that? Did you like that? You did get the Returnal Platinum too. I can't really say you're bad at games. When you like actually play games the way they're meant to be played, then you're fine. You're fine games, but you're impatient with games. We put it that way.
Extraordinarily, I don't have time for this stuff.
Did you like that Zelda artwork that I sent you though? Where it was
it was terrible. That ruined Zelda. Why would you ruin something so beautiful?
Listen, why? I know you hate the fight, but the character is interesting, right? Do you not think the character of Melania at all is interesting? Like that.
It was so frustrating that it removed my care.
The way the character is rendered, the way she looks, the whole notion of attaching the arm and how she's rotting and yet is still
I really shouldn't care. There's a lot
warrior.
Of merit there. Yeah, like that sounds awesome. But
she's great. And if you know her story even more, she's like her and her brother Mikola were like the
spoilers for Elden Ring, folks.
I'm sorry. I now know more of the story. We can talk about this offline, but all of the demigods were children of one of the marriages. There were like 3 marriages that matter in the story, and they're all like children from different marriages. But Mikola and Melania are like the weird. They're cursed by the gods because like Queen Marika and Radagon are like the two halves of the same whole. Like they're the same being. They're just like the male and female version of the same like deistic, like deitic being or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so like it got together with itself and then like Melania and Mikola are like nature, like abhorrent to nature because like they shouldn't exist. And as screwed up as that is, it's like worse than incest. It's like self-incest or whatever. It's really weird, but at the same time they're like messed up too, right? And we don't even know how messed up Mikola is, but he's gonna be probably crazy and he'll probably be DLC. He'll probably be like the big DLC boss for one or more of the things, and he'll probably be just as awful as Melania, if not more so. But they nerfed all the bleed stuff, by the way. So bleed builds are now
I heard about
not
that
useless,
well.
but
I do follow the patches actually. So there's that,
Spells across the board got a buff. They got a buff.
They all did.
Yeah.
Yep.
You should go back now and
there's no reason
play the game all the way through with me.
There's
multiple times.
There's nothing left to do.
It's
over.
Chungus,
it's a waste of time.
Chungus build.
It's like when you tell someone to mine the earth, this one specific spot for a diamond, and at the bottom there's a diamond, and they get it.
You should
and then telling them to go mine it again. Like why? There's nothing left.
Critical Role did Critical Role put together a Elden Ring one-shot D&D tabletop module.
That could be fun.
So you should at least do the Elden Ring one-shot with me, and you're also going to be a part of my Bloodborne tabletop group in October, right?
Sure.
Because they adapted 5e for Bloodborne. You can only there's like a specific list of classes that are thematically appropriate, and then they like redesigned the weapons to be like that's the thing that you're gonna love about. I hope you're gonna love about Bloodborne is they have trick weapons. The trick weapons are like every single weapon in the game has 2 forms. So like the dagger, there's like a dagger, and its other form is it splits and is dual wield. So you can use it as a regular dagger and have your gun, or you can split it and dual wield it. Or there's the classic 2-hand, 1-hand. But anyways, sorry. Now we're talking about games, not these games.
Yeah, we've completely gone off the rails.
That's it. We went off the rails. The rails have gone off, but it's the end of the stream, so who cares? So that's it. That's the live stream. So check out the show Monday.
Oh, wait. You didn't give a score for Wonderlands. What would you give it?
– 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 7.5, 8. But I'd top it out at 8. I wouldn't bottom it out as low as 7, but I would top it out at 8. Probably I wouldn't go higher than 8 out of 10 with it. And that's, again, partially due to the fact that it's just like the end game sucked. This predatory crap pisses me off. And it just never ascends to the heights that, Borderlands 3, for all of its faults, like, was a fun game. Really, the biggest problems with Borderlands 3 were with the writing around new characters. So, like, every new character they introduced, not everyone, but, like, the new characters they introduced were just not good choices, like the twins and Ava. And I see what they were trying to do. Like, in hindsight, I really do understand what they were trying to do with Borderlands 3 and those characters. But but that was the biggest problem, right? Like, everything else, the gameplay was meaningful, and they introduced a lot of interesting activities. The DLC was solid and worth the cost, but it was all problems with the writing. So this game, like, actually did genuinely do better with the writing in a lot of ways, but, like, took like 3 steps back with the gameplay. So I just feel like they need to bring it for 4. They really, really need to look at what is working in loot-based video games right now, and they need to do better. So, 8 would be my absolute max. I'd give the game.
Wow, and that's still pretty high considering the critiques.
I'd recommend it for Borderlands fans, and that's probably the only reason why I think it's any good, is because I'm a Borderlands fan. So
I've heard some rounds going around the internet that I agree with, but I never came up with this thought on my own. In that, if you have a teenager or a older kid that's like interested in games, like, it's rated teen 13 plus, so around that age frame, age range, and their kids looking for a fun looter shooter, and like you care, like it's okay with you as a parent. This is a great game to play with your child. This is fantastic.
Would totally, if my kid was 13 years old, I would totally, like, I would have probably enjoyed this game co-op more, period, than, like, usually I like to play a Borderlands game the first time through by myself so I can listen to all the stuff.
Right. There's so much dialogue going on.
And then I love replaying them with friends and laughing at the jokes together. This one is the opposite. I feel like I would have enjoyed it more playing together, and then would have maybe, like, appreciated it, like, for the depth later, but whatever. It's fine. It's okay. 2022, all things considered, looking at the games so far, has not been my favorite year. Nothing has exceeded my expectations except for Elden Ring, which again exceeded them so greatly that it is the only thing so far that's redeeming 2022. But with all the great games I was looking forward to pretty much all getting delayed, I'm sitting here being like, thank God for Elden Ring, because otherwise 2022 would have been a great disappointment.
Man, I'm sitting over here like 2022 is amazing.
Maybe in hindsight, I would have appreciated what do you call it better? The one game that we just talked about, Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, Arceus. It probably just absolutely met my expectations. I wouldn't say it exceeded my expectations, but Arceus met my expectations for that game. So I want to circle back around to that game. So there's that.
Yeah, I mean, 2022 has Arceus, Horizon Zero Dawn, Gran Turismo 7, Wonderlands, Lego Star Wars. It's been awesome. Okay. Not including Elden Ring.
2 out of those, like half of the games you just listed, are of no interest to me. So your argument, though I accept,
I'm loaded
and
valid,
excited.
I'm like, this is amazing.
Though from an objective point of view, I accept that you are excited and that your argument holds merit. From a subjective games I care about point of view, you just listed a couple games that were disappointments and a couple games that I don't care about at all, and then one game that I like that was actually good. So it's all good.
I haven't played Kirby yet.
I want to try out. Kirby, I do want to try out, T-Bone. I haven't circled back around to it. The only thing holding me back from Kirby right now is that it's been described as just really, really easy. And I don't know if I want to.
That's fantastic. Let's go.
I like some complexity and difficulty in my games now. I guess Bloodborne ruined me in that way, but we'll see. It still would be a great game to play in front of my kids. So there's that.
Oh, there's Ghostwire Tokyo and Sifu. Neither one of us have played yet. So there's
neither one of us has played, and that we didn't get because they were Sifu.
I only did not buy Sifu because it's hard. That's literally the only reason I didn't buy it. Everything else about it looks amazing. I didn't buy it
because it came out so close to all the other games that I just didn't want to muddy that water. So now I might circle back around. I actually might circle back around to Sifu. Sifu and Ghostwire Tokyo are opposites for me, right? Sifu is, I did not give a crap about that game, and then the reviews came out and made me interested in it. Ghostwire Tokyo was, I was super interested in the game and really wanted it, then the reviews came out and said it was garbage, so I didn't play it. So we'll see. I don't know. I've got a lot of time and not a lot of games to play between now, besides my backlog. So I'm actually working on that backlog, trying to knock a few things off it. And then come June or July, I might decide to circle back around to something that I hadn't tried yet. So,
I've heard this is backlog season, right? It's the desert. Not a lot of new stuff is coming out next couple of months. It's like, just hang on. You got a lot to play.
Right, hang on, and then I'll try something else. It's work down the list right now. The ones that have my attention from this year are Kirby, Sifu, and Ghostwire. And then from last year, games I didn't get to play that have my attention are Deathloop. I still need to finish It Takes Two, but that counts as backlog, and that I'm playing with my wife. So, and then
Yep. And if you like It Takes Two so much, then you could circle back and play with me, the PS4 version, and get 2 platinums.
Ooh, I gotta get. I would totally. That is one we need to do for a stream. I just need to wrap it up with my wife before.
Yeah.
Play the chapters we've already played. But
yeah, it's long.
So it is long.
We can't stream it without finishing it. Without you finishing it. You gotta talk about the story because it's wonderful. It's awesome.
It's great. It's great. All right, cool. Well, then that's it. That's the show. So we already talked about where you can find us. So just check out the episode on Monday is going to be on beta testing. I know that because I'm editing it now, which is how I remembered. Oh, to wear my hat. Oh, gotta get the. I was like, I remembered something. There's something I talked about this hat in the episode that comes up next week. So I gotta wear this hat and show it off to you all.
The penguin hat.
So this is a penguin hat. Check it out. It's got paws. Penguin with paws, and then it also does this.
Yes. Flippers! Oh, that's amazing.
My my mother-in-law got this for my son, and he didn't care about it at all. And I was sitting there, be like, "Sucker, your loss. It's mine now." I will say, awesome. At some point that weekend, I was wearing this. My wife walked into the room, and I went like this.
We are a family-friendly stream.
Yeah, I don't have to explain it at all.
Nope,
I don't have to elaborate at all. All right, so that is that's the show, and so you get to listen to us talk about beta testing and all the complexities that go with getting your fans to test your game. That's kind of the sort of emphasis of beta testing. Why it's different from just regular game testing. We leaned really into the idea of like, how do you decide who to invite into the game if you're opening it up to the public, and that is the episode that comes on Monday, so you can check that out. And the next one of these will be sometime next month, near the end of the month for May. So hopefully we'll have something to do. All right, that is.
That's it. That is 80bitpodsmash.com. Go to the website and get all the links to everything we do. And we will see you next month on the stream and next week in your ears.
In your ears. Cool. All right. Bye.
See you next week.